The migration period, often referred to as the barbarian invasions or the Völkerwanderung, was a transformative era in European history, marking the transition from the ancient world to the medieval period. Spanning approximately from the 4th to the 8th centuries, this period witnessed the movement of various peoples across Europe, including Germanic tribes, Huns, Slavs, and others. The repercussions of these migrations were profound, leading to the eventual collapse of the Western Roman Empire and the birth of medieval Europe. To understand how Europe as we know it today emerged from this turbulent era, one must delve into the complex interplay of social, political, and cultural forces that define the migration period. The backdrop to the migration period is the declining Roman Empire, which had once been the unchallenged superpower of the ancient world. By the 4th century, however, the empire was beset by internal weaknesses, including political instability, economic difficulties, and a stretched military that struggled to defend its vast borders. The empire had also begun to rely increasingly on foederati, or allied barbarian troops, to defend its frontiers, a practice that would eventually have far-reaching consequences. The movement of peoples during this period was not simply a series of isolated invasions, but rather a complex process influenced by multiple factors. Environmental changes, such as the pressure of the advancing Huns from the east, played a significant role in displacing Germanic tribes like the Goths, Vandals, and Franks. These groups, in turn, sought refuge within the borders of the Roman Empire, sometimes as allies, sometimes as enemies. The Huns, a nomadic group originating from Central Asia, swept into Europe in the late 4th century, pushing other tribes ahead of them and creating a domino effect that rippled across the continent. The arrival of the Goths into Roman territories in the late 4th century marked a critical turning point. The Visigoths, under pressure from the Huns, crossed the Danube River into Roman lands, initially seeking asylum. However, tensions quickly escalated, leading to the catastrophic Battle of Adrianople in 378, where the Roman army suffered a devastating defeat. This battle is often seen as the beginning of the end for the Western Roman Empire, as it exposed the vulnerability of Roman military power and emboldened other barbarian groups to press their demands. In the early 5th century, the Western Roman Empire faced a series of invasions that further weakened its hold on the provinces. The Vandals, under their king Gaiseric, crossed the Rhine in 406 and eventually made their way to North Africa, where they established a kingdom that would later sack Rome in 455. The Visigoths, after sacking Rome in 410 under Alaric, eventually settled in Spain, establishing a kingdom that would last until the early 8th century. The Burgundians, another Germanic tribe, settled in what is now southeastern France, while the Franks, under their leader Clovis, began to establish their dominance in Gaul. The dissolution of Roman authority in the West did not happen overnight, but was rather a gradual process. The Roman Empire had been the political and cultural glue that held together a vast and diverse array of peoples and regions. As central authority weakened, local rulers, often barbarian chieftains who had been Romanized to varying degrees, began to assert themselves, carving out their own territories from the former imperial provinces. This fragmentation of power was a key feature of the early medieval period, leading to the development of the feudal system and the emergence of various successor states that would eventually evolve into the kingdoms of medieval Europe. One of the most significant developments during the migration period was the establishment of the Frankish kingdom under the Merovingian dynasty. The Franks, a Germanic tribe, had initially settled in the Roman province of Gaul as foederati. Under the leadership of Clovis, who ruled from 481 to 511, the Franks expanded their territory through a combination of military conquest and strategic alliances. Clovis's conversion to Christianity in 496 was a pivotal moment, as it aligned the Frankish kingdom with the Roman Church, a relationship that would shape the religious and political landscape of medieval Europe. The Frankish kingdom would later give rise to the Carolingian Empire under Charlemagne, which would be seen as a revival of the Western Roman Empire and a precursor to the Holy Roman Empire. The migration period also witnessed the rise of other Germanic kingdoms, each of which contributed to the shaping of medieval Europe in different ways. The Ostrogoths, another branch of the Gothic peoples, established a kingdom in Italy under Theodoric the Great in the late 5th century. Theodoric sought to preserve Roman traditions while ruling as a barbarian king, maintaining a dual system of laws for his Roman and Gothic subjects. Although the Ostrogothic kingdom would eventually be overthrown by the Byzantine Empire in the mid-6th century, it represents a key example of how Roman and Germanic cultures began to merge during this period. In addition to the Germanic tribes, the migration period saw the movement of other peoples who would leave a lasting impact on European history. The Slavs, originally from the regions north of the Carpathian Mountains, began migrating into the Balkans and Eastern Europe during the 6th century. Their settlement patterns laid the groundwork for the future development of Slavic nations in Eastern Europe, including Russia, Poland, and the Czech lands. The Anglo-Saxons, a group of tribes from what is now Denmark and northern Germany, migrated to the British Isles, where they established several kingdoms that would eventually coalesce into the Kingdom of England. The migration period was not only a time of destruction and chaos, but also a period of profound cultural and social transformation. The blending of Roman and barbarian traditions led to the creation of new legal codes, artistic styles, and social structures. The Roman legacy did not disappear. Rather, it was adapted and reinterpreted by the various barbarian kingdoms that emerged from the ruins of the empire. The Christianization of these kingdoms was another crucial aspect of this transformation. As barbarian rulers converted to Christianity, they brought their peoples into the fold of the Christian Church, which would become the dominant institution in medieval Europe. The legacy of the migration period is still evident in the political and cultural landscape of Europe today. The modern nations of France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and England all trace their origins, at least in part, to the events of this era. The concept of Europe as a distinct cultural and political entity also began to take shape during this time, as the various peoples of the continent were gradually united under the banner of Christendom. The idea of a European identity, forged in the crucible of the migration period, would continue to evolve throughout the medieval and modern periods, influencing the development of the continent for centuries to come. In conclusion, the migration period was a formative era in European history, characterized by the movement of peoples, the collapse of the Western Roman Empire, and the birth of new political entities that would lay the foundations for medieval Europe. While it was a time of great upheaval, it was also a period of cultural fusion and transformation, as the legacy of Rome was preserved and adapted by the emerging barbarian kingdoms. The Europe that emerged from the migration period was a patchwork of diverse cultures, languages, and traditions, united by a shared Christian faith and a common heritage that would continue to shape the continent's destiny.